All right. Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to our Partners in Teaching information session. I'm not going to be speaking too much. I'm just quickly going to introduce Dr. Teng-Leong from the Advanced Imaging Center at Janelia Research Campus in the USA. We're going to get started with the information session. So a reminder, this is going to be some insights and information about what PiTCH is, what the intentions of the program are, and how you can apply. And we're going to get started with handing over to Leon. Leon, are you ready?
Thank you, Mike. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello. We see that we have quite a bit of an international crowd, so this is great. I'm going to share my screen. And everybody see my screen. Oh, continue to share. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can see, Leon.
Okay, thank you. So welcome, everyone. Before I get started in talking a little bit more details about the Partners in Teaching program, I want to sort of take this opportunity to present to you the Africa Microscopy Initiative in general, because I'm sure that there are quite a few people in the audience either have just cursorily heard of it or have never heard of it. So I sort of want to give you the entire programmatic vision of the AMI program so that you know where this Partners in Teaching initiative actually fit in. So the idea of the Africa Microscopy Initiative, or AMI, was basically germinated during the pandemic, actually. This is right after we run the first Imaging Africa workshop that was basically driven by the Advanced Imaging Center here at Janelia. We conducted the workshop in Cape Town, which is open to African scientists from all over the continent without cost. And the opportunity allowed me to actually speak with quite a lot of scientists in Africa from various strata. And that kind of get me to start thinking about what are some of the challenges that the African scientists are facing. And that can be summarized in the following diagram. And you will see how various initiatives of AMI fit into this labyrinth of problems that is facing the African scientist, and then you will also see where the PiTCH program fit in. So at the worst case scenario, there are a lot of African scientists that are facing an experimental hurdle that can be easily solved by a microscope, but they don't even know that a microscope can actually help in this regard. So that is the lack of awareness, not to mention the lack of tool, is usually the worst case scenario. Slightly better is that they know that they require a microscope, but they have no support, they have no advice, and more importantly, they have no access to instrument. A very lucky few, such as those who attended the Imaging Africa workshop, have access to microscopy training courses, but at the end, when they go back to their home institution, they realize that they have no access to microscopes. And so the idea of using a microscope kind of flashed through their mind for about a few seconds, and then they drop the idea, and then they go back and do what they can afford to do. Now, it doesn't mean that there are no research centers of excellence in Africa. There are many scientists in larger and more affluent cities and research centers do have access to microscopy resources, but those are far and few in between, right? And many African scientists don't have that luxury. And the biggest irony of that all is that in many advanced imaging centers in the world, such as the one at the European Molecular Biology Lab, the one at Janelia, and also some of the Eurobioimaging microscopy centers, those microscopes are available to African scientists through a proposal program. But the gap of accessing those open source microscopy centers are just sometimes way too much to surmount. And so overall, this is just various stages of accessibility barriers that African scientists face. And so this, as you can imagine, this is a vicious cycle. So if we want to tackle a vicious cycle, we have to create a virtuous cycle. Basically, we have to hit everything simultaneously. And so this is to create a chain of unbroken resources and expertise at every level. And that sort of summarizes the very essence of the Africa microscopy initiative in general. Luckily, the most expensive and the most difficult part is already done. There are microscopy resources everywhere, all over the world. But so the very first step we have done successfully is to create an open access microscopy center that is dedicated to Africa only, and only for African scientists working in nonprofit organizations. And basically, we created the AMI Imaging Center at the University of Cape Town. It is completely free of charge. You have to write a proposal to access it, and if your proposal is accepted, we bring you into the imaging center free of cost, and covering travel and everything. And then we have also created an instrument distribution program, taking a lot of almost relatively brand new but pre-owned instruments that are sitting in the warehouses of many of the microscopy companies, and have the company service it up to the company quality and distribute those instruments throughout Africa. And we have successfully launched one round of that distribution program. We have thought about also create more Pan-Africa workshop rather than just have it in Cape Town or in Cairo or in some of the bigger city, to be able to have a more distributed approach to bring workshop opportunities and training opportunities to Africa. And that, in a way, sums up the gist of what we're going to be talking about today, which is the Partner in Teaching program. And then we're also going to have the train-the-trainer program. This is also part of the spirit of the PiTCH program, as well as webinar series, which we have also launched. So if you have catch this whole thing, the Partner in Teaching program is pretty much the very last program of the AMI initiative that we are going to launch today. And so just to give you an idea of what this 6 different pillars of Africa microscopy initiative is, we started a flagship imaging center in Cape Town, as I've mentioned before. We also think that the same imaging center that is at the University of Cape Town can serve as a project incubator, so that a lot of the high potential project from Africa can be given enough resources, enough time to develop, so that they become globally competitive and they can come to go to an even more advanced technology available elsewhere in the world, especially in those open source imaging centers like at Janelia and EMBL. We will continue to run Imaging Africa workshop at varying sizes all over Africa. And then webinar series, as I mentioned before, it is called Microscopy Matters. We have invited quite a few African scientists to present those workshops as coached by international imaging scientists. So we continue to add to that webinar series and encourage you guys to seek those out and listen to them. And then that brings us to the Partner in Teaching program. This is actually a fellowship program and also a mentorship program that basically trying to pair international imaging scientists with their counterpart in Africa. And so this is our way of mobilizing as many imaging scientists from all over the world as possible to participate in this program in Africa, and to empower our peers and colleagues in Africa that is facing a lot of challenges. So that is the very spirit of the PiTCH program. And as I've also mentioned, there is the program for equipment exchange and reutilization, which is to basically take some of the pre-owned instrument into Africa. So I'm going to now focus on the PiTCH program. But before we do that, I want to sort of point everybody to this paper. If you want to learn more about the Africa Microscopy Initiative, it is now published. So feel free to take a screenshot, take a picture, leave it there for about another 10 seconds, and then move on so that you can read the rationale behind it of how we strategize this initiative and to get us to where we are today. And we should all be extremely grateful that 2 very big funding agencies in the United States, the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative and the Gates Foundation, have invested in the Africa Microscopy Initiative. So now let's talk a little bit about Partners in Teaching, or PiTCH. So as I mentioned before, this is a mentorship program, and the idea is to basically trying to pair African applicants. This could be early career African scientists who are very, very interested in learning more about microscopy and also motivated to bring whatever that they can learn to their own community and maybe to the whole region. And then to pair them with international applicants, we also hope that we can attract more early career stage imaging scientists and group leaders who are passionate about helping out our colleagues and peers in Africa. And the application process, as you know, is now open. And when all the applications come in, we're going to separate them into two pools, the African pools as well as the international pool. And then the top few candidates will be selected from each pool. And then we'll pair those successful candidates together to create this partners in teaching. And then this is phase one. And then in phase two, the teaching pairs will now be trained by international imaging scientists or core facility directors or microscopy expert who are very experienced in running workshop. And so we will give these partners, this group of partners, one mentor and two mentees, up to almost a year to put together a curriculum that is contextualized for the Africa need. And the mentor will guide them through how to pinpoint areas that they need to cover in the workshop, how to develop a curriculum based on the local need of Africa. And more importantly, may also teach them how to fight for funding so that at the end, they will be able to get some funding from any source available to help run a workshop in the home institution and the home city of the African partner. And the idea is that the international partner will also join in this workshop so that you are not teaching this workshop alone. You actually have an international partner with you and properly mentored by someone who is very experienced in running international workshop. So in a nutshell, that is basically the spirit of PiTCH. So I want to sort of talk to you a little bit about how we are going to evaluate and select the various candidates. So I purposely give two slides, but you will see quite a lot of similarity between the two slides of how we select African candidates as well as the international candidates. For the African candidates, we want to look for people with some degree of microscopy skill and expertise. We fully understand that not everybody in Africa will have extremely proficiency in very, very advanced microscopy knowledge, and that is not the selection criteria. We just don't want it to be zero. And then more importantly, familiarity with other microscopy techniques and technology, regardless of whether you have access to that or not. So any prior experience of attending an international workshop helps, right? So that you actually have experienced how a workshop like this is conducted. You have experienced how very complex idea can be presented by your instructors then, and so that you have that experience that you can translate into your own PiTCH workshop if you were to be selected. And it is also very important, and this is something that not very many microscopy workshop focus on, but this is something that we focus on very heavily, which is the ability to design quantitative experiment that is microscopy based. So any experience that you can show that you have involved in microscopy based experimental design is important. And also past teaching experience and is very important. And your motivation is clearly very important. When you're filling out that application form, articulate what motivates you to apply to this workshop, what it means to you and to your community if you are selected, and how you plan to even, take it beyond just a simple workshop. How do you think about you can build up your community, and all that is extremely important. And so articulate that vision very, very well. So that is a very long answer sections instead of a multiple choice, so that we give you a lot of room to really elaborate how this experience with the PiTCH program can actually realize your vision for your community. And the other category that we will grade you on is the teaching partnership. Basically, your vision of how you will collaborate with your global teaching partners to disseminate your knowledge and, more importantly, grow a sustainable, locally led microscopy activities, and even how you build up the community if you were chosen. Now, the top few candidates will be selected for an interview with the review panel, as well as a panel of your future mentors. So your performance at an interview is also very important. Whether or not you can speak clearly, you can articulate yourself very, very well, which is obviously a very important quality for any successful instructors. All those will be evaluated as well. So this is for the African candidate, but you will see high similarity for how we are going to select the international candidates. In addition to the skills and experience, one of the things that we look for the international candidates is, have you run workshop before? Have you, have you worked with people from other country, other continent? How will your skill align with the need in Africa? And not only you're good with super resolution and lifestyle imaging, very advanced technique, but are you also good with bread and butter microscopy instrument like wide field microscope, confocal microscope, to be able to do quantitative analysis on tissue slides and stuff like that. That is badly needed in Africa. So we want to sort of select as not just the most advanced candidate who is, well steeped in microscopy advanced technique. And your motivation is very important. What does it mean to you personally if you were selected as an international partner? How will you leverage your passion, your past experience, and your expertise to help your African partner and in their community? Your vision of how you can collaborate with your partners to disseminate knowledge and so on and so forth. And one of the very important thing for the international candidate is that you have to be committed and you have to make that commitment that at the end of phase 2, after your mentor say that, okay, you guys are ready to go run this workshop, you have to go to the home institution of your African partner to co-direct this workshop. So this is very important. So this is a commitment that cannot be compromised. And again, there is also an interview, same criteria apply. So for not only for the mentees, but if there are any mentors that many of them have already agreed to teach this workshop, if you are on this session, I will give you an idea, and this is something that we will co-develop together during the onboarding session, of how we can develop a microscopy curriculum that is contextualized for the regional needs in Africa. And I want to specifically talk a little bit about what contextualization for Africa actually mean. During your initial discussion with the mentees, the mentors should start helping the two mentees establish what the local experimental needs in the African partners institution or the city are. You have to understand what are the specific microscopy techniques and application that would benefit the community the most, and the types of samples that local scientists usually work with, and the regional microscopy related topics to be discussed. This could be what kind of diseases, what kind of food biology, food security, environmental type of soil biology, agriculture, all that kind of thing that can be drastically different from what you are dealing with in a medical school, for example, in the US or in Europe. So something you have to contextualize to their need, not what you usually teach. But the underlying concept of microscopy remains the same, obviously. We also have to establish the accessibility and availability of local microscopes. We obviously cannot keep talking about super resolution microscope and light sheet microscope and ignore what they really need the most, which could be a high throughput slide scanner or even a wide field microscope. And local and regional challenges that affect the microscopy access, so that you can start to think about how you can tailor the entire curriculum to create the most benefit for the mentees. And then together, the three of you will establish what are the success metrics, what will success look like, and how do we going to measure the impact 1 year, 2 years after they have run the workshop, so that we can show the international funders that we really have made an impact. And I think this is very important to ensure continued funding. And then to continue on along that line, we also have to think about the essential components once you have contextualized that curriculum. The fundamentals of optics doesn't change. What is magnification? What is resolution? All that is important. Also important is the labeling reagents and approaches. Bear in mind that things that are easily accessible in the first world can take months and months, if not years, to get into the hands of the scientists in Africa. So you don't always talk about the most advanced labeling reagent, but what is more easily available, and also resources that will make those things easily available. And sample preparation, knowing from personal experience, is a very important topic for African scientists. And again, I'm going to keep coming back to this topic, the importance of experimental design, quantitative approaches to test hypotheses. And then the mentor will think about how you can cover image analysis as well. Again, those basic principles never change. How do you do image processing and prepare the digital image for quantitative analysis? And at the end, how do you extract quantitative information from bioimages? This is a good time for you to also introduce online tools, open source software, and also community support like New Bias, for example. There are international community of image analysts who are always willing to help. Now, once you have covered all the basic, this is when, if you have time, if you see the opportunity, that is where you can develop further curriculum for the two partners to introduce additional microscopy technologies and techniques as future possibilities, so that their community understand that microscope is more than just white field, more than just fixed lights. We can do live cells, we can do whole organism, and get them excited so that they can pave the way for future access to resources such as international community, regional and international programs, and other open source microscopy center. So plenty to talk about. This is just a very high level summary. And I will personally speak with all the mentors to continue to get them on board of this vision. So I'm going to stop here. So Michael is going to take over and talk to you about the mechanics and the nuts and bolts of this very first phase of the Partner in Teaching program, which is how you're going to apply and how we're going to select and pair the successful candidates. Michael, I'll let you take over.
Thanks very much, Leong. Let me share my screen quickly. All right. Leong, can you just confirm if you can see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, thanks, Leong, for contextualizing everything. As you mentioned, we're going to dive into more of the practicalities of what's going to happen for phase one so that you know what to expect. Again, to re-emphasize, we're speaking about the online mentorship aspect of phase one. And then I'll also contextualize a little bit of what phase two might end up looking like. So in case anyone hasn't seen it, all of the application forms and information are available on the UMI website. If you go to the link that's listed in the blue text over there, you will see a web page. You can also go to the QR code that will stay up on the screen for the next couple of minutes. Alternatively, you can take a screenshot if you're on your cell phone right now. If you navigate to this page and you scroll towards the bottom, you'll end up seeing a section that's called Application Form and Guidelines. This is a point where I want to reiterate what Leong has mentioned, that there is going to be distinct selection criteria due to the slightly different expectations between the African partner and the global partner. So please make sure you select the correct partner links that are applicable to you. Before you click the application form, I really encourage you to look at the guideline document as well as the frequently asked questions. These two documents will be quite helpful and provide some useful information as you prepare your application. Once you've reviewed those documents, you can start your application form. And this application form is a Google document. So you will need a Google account in order to log in. And the reason for this is so that your application can be saved, so that you're able to return to it and start off right where you left off. This means that you don't have to complete the application form in one sitting. You don't have to rush to answer all the questions. You don't have to put as few words as possible. You can really take your time to think about how you want to answer the questions and input the best possible responses available to you. So with regard to answering the questions, we also ask you to be quite truthful and honest. Something that you might perceive as a deficiency in your area of expertise, and you might feel like you want to hide it, might really be an opportunity for learning, and the reviewers might use this information to best pair you with a partner. So please answer the questions and the prompts honestly and as truthfully as possible. All right, all the applications will close on the 20th of September. So this means that there's about 1.5 months to go, and there's a lot of time left for you to prepare a nice, strong application. So please don't rush to submit things as quickly as possible, but at the same time, I really encourage you not to leave this to the last moment. You have about 45 days to get good, strong applications in. So following the submission deadline, the reviewers will assess all applications for both the African partners and the global partners, as mentioned by Leon. And then the top shortlisted candidates will be communicated with at approximately on the 10th of November. Thereafter, there'll be that round of interviews, as mentioned by Leon, where the mentors will have an opportunity to talk to and chat with prospective mentee partners. And this is likely to happen on the 12th and the 13th of November. All final outcomes of all applications will be announced on the 17th, or it's earmarked for the 17th of November. So all successful applicants will be informed of who their partner is, and as well as who is their mentor that they've been assigned with. And a reminder that there are going to be 4 teaching pairs in total. That means there are going to be 4 selected African partners and 4 selected global partners. The end of PiTCH phase 1 is the end of November, so roughly the 27th of November 2026, so next year November. Okay, and at this point we will be hoping for a mentorship report so that we can follow up on everything that has happened in the preceding 12 months, and we can find ways of improving PiTCH in the future as well. So what happens between the start of the program and the 27th of November 2026? That is where it's a little bit more free-form. The tripartite partnership that includes the mentor, the African partner, and the global partner now have 12 months to make the most of this online mentorship program. The reason it's such a protracted period of time is that it's intended to be a flexible schedule so that as many of the partners can be accommodated, and that there can be allowances made for people not being available every single month potentially. So the mentor, the African partner, and the global partner will work together in achieving everything that they set out to do over the course of 12 months. And that might look different for every single teaching pair. This means that it's quite important up front for the mentor to work with their teaching pair to establish what skills might need to be focused on to help set goals for the preceding 12 months, or the subsequent 12 months rather, expectations, and then as a team effort, personalize a mentorship plan for the 12 months that follow. This might mean that there are meetings every single month with the mentor, might mean that occasionally months are skipped, and equally so, the African partner and the global partner might want to meet more frequently than they meet with the mentor. Okay, so the schedule really is flexible, and it's allowed to accommodate whatever personalized program and framework the mentor, the African partner, and the global partner agree upon based on everything that needs to be discussed right at the start. Okay, a reminder that obviously during these 12 months, the focus areas are on transferring skills, harmonization of knowledge and knowledge sharing, helping to design the curricula, planning, adapting questions to the local context, everything that goes on behind the scenes into hosting a workshop, the mentor will guide and teach and facilitate a plan of action over the course of these 12 months. Okay, the expected outcome by the end of the 12 months is that the teaching pair will have learned a lot and have enhanced their skills, but more importantly, they would have developed a concept note on the workshop that they want to host. And this workshop will be tailored to the African research content, the African research environment. And that is the output of this program. Now, after this phase one, the teaching pair is going to have their concept note. They're going to have this plan that they want to implement, and how it proceeds from there could happen according to two potential avenues. The first is that the teaching pair on their own decide to secure funding for it. They may want to capitalize on funding available through research grants, or approach existing programs that facilitate workshop funding. Alternatively, AMI is going to work to secure funding as part of phase 2 of PiTCH, so that these workshops can be hosted in Africa, so that the global partner can travel to Africa, work hand in hand with the African partner in co-delivering the workshop on a local level within Africa. More information on phase 2 will be communicated in time, but for now I'm going to pass back to Leong if there's anything further he would like to add before we start the Q&A session.
I don't have anything to add, but there are quite a lot of questions in the chat box.
Great.
Really good ones. I think we can head straight to the Q&A.
All right, I'll manage this, Leong, and then I'll pitch them to you, and then we can discuss them. So the first question was, for the pairing step, will it be random? If there's already an institution that has a partnership with an African university, is there a way that they could bundle this information into the application?
Absolutely. If you already have a pre-formed partnership, that is the best, because you already know that you can work with that person. So that is always a good sign. So put that in the application. Make sure that you indicate each other as your preferred partner, and sort of talk a little bit about your past partnership and how fruitful they have been. And you can certainly apply simultaneously, one as the global partner, the other one as the African partner. We will absolutely take that into consideration, and we're not going to purposely pull apart a well-oiled partnership that is already in existence.
Fantastic. I'll add to that, Leong, that there are two key areas in the application where you have a free form long answer that you can type and contextualize these kinds of partnerships so that the reviewer will be made clear of it. Cool, thanks for the question. That was an anonymous question. Gabrielle Baguma has a question about if English is the only language that can be accommodated. What about a home language such as French?
In the application form, there is a selection for your preferred language. And we know that a large portion of the African population, the main language, teaching language is in French. So we will be partnering with other French-speaking mentors in that regard. If French, for example, is your language of choice, you will absolutely be trained in French and then deliver the entire workshop in French, as an example.
Cool. Thanks for that question, Gabrielle. Samira Bernarda has a question about how many pairs will be selected. So Samira, there will be 4 teaching pairs selected at the end of phase 1, or for the start of phase 1 rather. So that's going to be 4 African partners and 4 global partners will be selected in total. All right, so we have a few more questions. Are all scientists eligible for this course, Leong?
Yes, we're trying to cast the widest net possible. If we have a lot of applications, which I think we will pick the most the best pair that will benefit the program the most. Obviously, we certainly would prefer early career stage scientists, but I don't think that is a hard selection criteria. The most important criteria is what is the best pair that can get the job done.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks for the question, Judith. Samira has another follow-up question, Leong, and it ties in connection with the previous question about if there's an existing collaboration that's already been funded. But Leong, could you speak specifically whether you believe it would be advantageous or disadvantageous to include information on existing collaborations?
Yes, absolutely. Anything that can show to the review panel that you already have a very well-established partnership. They're already having a partnership means that there are already active research going on, and there is a lot of dialogue going on. That is always a plus, and that is you score some points there.
Cool. Thank you, Leong, for the answer, and Samira. So now we have, I think Stephanie as well as Amay have kind of combined their questions together. How are you defining early career researchers, especially for the African partners? Does an MSc thesis count as microscopy experience and experimental design if it was solely microscopy based? That's the first part of the question, Leong.
I think I'll answer part of it, and Mike, you can answer the other part of it. I think the early career thing is more applicable to the global partner than the African side. We understand that African academics clearly wear a lot of hats. You guys serve a lot of roles, and sometimes your status is harder to define. I don't think that is a hard rule. We will probably look past that and just to find out what kind of impact you would make locally. That's more important. And then as far as the certification go, Mike, I think you can answer that.
Yeah, so obviously impact is going to be a large consideration. And ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is really well-motivated and well-justified proposals. So it doesn't matter if that proposal comes from somebody doing their master's or somebody who's had a doctoral degree for the past 20 years. We're not going to discriminate based on career, particularly when it comes to the African partner. The real focus for the African partner is conceptualizing the reason and the motivation and the justification for taking part in this program and what impact taking part in PiTCH will have. So the follow-up question from Ame was, what level of microscope is targeted? Does it have to be advanced microscopy or any specific type of microscope? And is there?
I think I've covered that during the introduction. Is you as the African partner has a lot of say in how to define that curriculum. The idea is not to bring in the most advanced technology, but technology and techniques and knowledge that will benefit you locally. So you actually play a very big role in determining what the curriculum is going to look like. Now, it doesn't mean that we're only going to cover that. We're also going to talk a little bit about future possibility. Let's say if you have done a lot of slide scanning, what is the next step? What is the next scientific questions that you can ask, and what kind of tools are available? So that will be covered, but not the biggest percentage. The biggest percentage is to create a curriculum that you can teach to your local community to benefit your peers the most locally.
Cool, thank you, Leong. The next question I can answer. So the question is, can we make a pair between Africa and Africa? And yes, you can. The intention behind the global partner is that it is from anyone around the globe. But the key distinguishing factor is the global partner needs to be a really strong expert in microscopy or be very well versed in microscopy. So if there is someone like that in Africa, they can apply as a global applicant or global partner and be paired with another African.
So let me chime in there a little bit. There's another questions about African scientists that are working internationally, maybe in Europe, in Africa, or in America or elsewhere. African diaspora is very, very strongly encouraged to apply, especially as an international partner, because you guys have international research experience. This is your home community. We certainly would like your participation a lot. So if you are an African scientist working outside of Africa and think that this is a great opportunity for you to come in and help, we need you to apply.
Yeah. The next question is, how do you advise we plan the hands-on aspect of a workshop if we do not have sufficient microscopes at our institute? So, Leong, I think you're primed and ready to answer this based on the context, based on
Yes.
the context of what the mentorship will entail.
So this is actually very important. So a couple of things. So if your institution have no microscopes, then it becomes very difficult to run a workshop. It doesn't have to be an advanced microscope. It could be just a simple wide field microscope. If your entire institution has no microscope, and then the other institution has one or two very rudimentary basic microscope, obviously the PiTCH program will benefit the other university that has microscope more than you. So we will obviously gravitate towards which institution in Africa will benefit from this program the most. Obviously, that is the essence of the fellowship. But if you only have one or two microscope, you're thinking about, bringing in one or two slightly more advanced microscope, so that you can introduce to your community what a more advanced microscope can do. And this is the responsibility of the mentor to help teach you how to secure sponsorship from industry, so that they can potentially bring in a loaner microscope for a week and stuff like that. So the skills, not only about the mentorship is not just there to mentor you how to teach technology, is to literally teach you how to create a workshop from scratch. So obviously securing funding, securing industry sponsorship, those are all essential skills that the mentor will teach you.
Cool. Thank you, Leon. There's a question about what is the difference between the African partner and the global partner. I'll reiterate that the expectations from the two are slightly different. The global partner needs to be the partner that brings a lot of bioimaging expertise and experience, whereas the African partner is bringing a lot of the research context and the research application within the African research environment. So the emphasis on global partner is that they can be from anywhere in the world, but they need to be a relatively strong expert in microscopy or bioimaging or something related to that. Whereas we understand that microscopy is not prevalent tremendously in Africa. So that's part of the justification of this program, is to help skill transfer into Africa. The African partner doesn't necessarily need to be an expert in the microscopy, but must be primed and ready for a good application and justification for why microscopy might impact either their research or their local research community. Another question from Lieberts is, how will you consider diversity in research domains? Some organisms are still considered as orphans in bioimaging. I'll start off, Liebert, by saying you can either see that as an advantage or a disadvantage. It depends on how you motivate it. If it's all up to you, right? As with a lot of things in science, you've got to motivate why your research application might be the reason it's been overlooked. There is either a reason, or maybe you could say that you don't agree with the reason it's been overlooked. So you motivate what angle you want to bring. If it's because you're looking at a model organism that gets overlooked, that could be a selling point. So you could motivate for your application based on that explanation. Leon, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and I also want to sort of change people's mindset, especially our African audience. This is not a top-down approach for the international mentor to just keep mentoring you. Bear in mind that the chair can turn around. You can actually mentor the international microscopy experts of very important organisms that is currently overlooked. I'm going to be a mentor. I would love to learn more about your organisms that you're dealing with that I'm not familiar with. So the mentorship is bidirectional. So don't feel like you always have to be at the receiving end. As the African partner, you are there to bring in your regional research priority, and many of them, admittedly, are very overlooked in the first world. It doesn't mean it is important. It just means it's overlooked. And this is an opportunity for you to bring it to the spotlight and maybe educate the mentors themselves. So don't always see yourself just at the receiving end of the training program. One of the things that is unspoken in all these programs in the entire Africa Microscopy Initiative is to empower African scientists. And one of the most important features of an empowerment is that you are not just at the receiving end of things. You can actually share your expertise, share your knowledge with us as well.
Great, thanks. Well said, Leon, well said. The next question is, if the applicant was applied before the session, can the application be considered? So if you have learned some more information during this session, you can contact us with the email address contact@microscopy.africa, requesting that your application be deleted, and then you'll have an opportunity to resubmit it. Because if you learned something new and you were a little bit too quick in applying, we get it, we understand. Email us requesting for your application to be deleted. We will then delete it and let you know, and then you can resubmit. Okay. Do you have to work with an institution to join the program? Yes, I think it's part of it is that there needs to be other people that are going to benefit from the workshop. So you need to have the support of a local institution, even if it's just kind of informally through the fact that you're an employee. You will be hosting a workshop at the research institution. So if you don't work at a research institution, you're not going to be able to do that. Okay, is it possible for postgraduate students to apply as an African partner working in a teaching hospital, which is focusing on pre-university medical laboratory technology? I'm not sure I understand the question. Do you understand it, Leon?
I think this is high school.
I would imagine pre-university is high school.
You can, but I would say that this is targeted more towards African researchers. So I would you certainly would you can certainly apply, but the emphasis of this program is to help African scientists who are actually already doing research.
Yeah, and that ties in with the next question by Desmond. Desmond, is the training mainly for health professionals, or will it include students at the high school level? So we are specifically trying to support research in Africa. So that is why there is such a high importance placed on research application, research motivation. So no, we won't be supporting these kinds of initiatives that are looking to support high school and earlier development in students. It's not that they're not important, it's just that it's not the focus of the PiTCH program.
Let me chime in there. Let's say if you are at a teaching university, but you have a little bit of research, focus on the research in your application. Now, if you are selected, the skills that you learn can obviously be translated into any level to teach even high school students. But for this particular program, when you're applying, focus on the research.
Okay, so there's a question if two African partners can be from the same African country. So
I would like to answer that.
yes.
You can, and I think there is nothing wrong in that, but I think you are missing the point of the PiTCH program in that case. The PiTCH program is really trying to establish a long-term friendship and partnership with an international imaging scientist that you otherwise would not have met. And both of you will be mentored by an international microscopy experts. This is a great opportunity for you to meet people, a great opportunity for you to draw in international expertise that you otherwise have no access to. And yes, I clearly see the benefit of just collaborating within your country, but I think that would miss the point of the PiTCH program. The PiTCH program is really trying to mobilize as many global partners to participate in the empowerment of African scientists. So take advantage of it and see that as an opportunity for you to meet experts that you otherwise would not have met.
Yeah. I'll also add context that within the 4 African partners that end up being selected, there is no exclusion that they can't all come from the same country, it's unlikely that that's going to be the case, but we have no exclusionary factors like that. A question once again from Ame. There are many people involved in the awareness of microscopy in Africa, but don't have advanced background in microscopy. Are microscopy enthusiasts who are not necessarily microscopy purists eligible for this program?
Yes.
There you go. Ame, short and sweet. There is a question from an anonymous attendee. Somebody's already organizing a workshop for January 2026 with an African partner, a global partner, and a mentor. Firstly, I'll say congratulations. I hope that goes really, really well. Are you eligible to apply for PiTCH? No, you won't be eligible to apply because you'll be hosting your workshop before. But if you want to apply for a second workshop, feel free to apply and perhaps you can host a second workshop. Okay, there's a question from Shu Ying Li. Are there opportunities for volunteers, probably as supporting roles, since there are only 4 spots but many applicants?
Wow, that is a very good question. I would say yes, but it will not fit into this program. If you are really interested in volunteering, reach out to us by email. If we see a situation where a volunteer is necessary, we will reach back out to you. But I love that question. I think we can always use as much help as possible.
Shu Ying Li, thank you very much. That was a great question. The next question is, would there perhaps be another call next year? It's a great opportunity, but the timing isn't good for me now. It certainly is the intention that PiTCH will have a second call, and we can only see what the future holds. Another question from Dina. How many pairs will be selected for phase 2 and what will be the criteria for passing phase 2? So all information about phase 2 will be announced at a later date. Right now we're focusing on phase 1, but it's good that you're looking for the future, but there are still things that need to be ironed out. Okay.
Is there any other questions? Otherwise, I keep going and just give me 1 minute at the end so that I can sum up.
Sure. There are. It looks like there are 4 more questions.
Please go ahead.
Can I apply if my interest is in a specific infectious disease? Can persons
Yes.
in specific programs in ministries of health apply? Oh, that's a very interesting one.
Possibly. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. Submit an application and
Submit an application.
the reviewers will assess it based on its merit and the potential for impact, as with all of the other applications. The next question by Lisa. I'm a histology professor and I conduct research. Can I apply? With pleasure. Histology is a hugely impactful field in Africa. So Elisa, I'm not sure if you're from within Africa or outside Africa, but even still, it has utility globally. So please do apply as a histology professor. That's an expertise that the world could benefit from. Second last question from Stephanie. I'm not sure if you have answered this yet, but should my application focus solely on my research interests, being cytogenetics, or can the content be broader and include pathogens?
Yes. Let me answer that because this is a great opportunity for me to sum up a few things. Bear in mind that this is especially for the African audience here. You are not applying to a workshop. You are applying to be trained as an instructor for a workshop that you will organize. So this is very different than Imaging Africa, where you are applying to attend a workshop. The PiTCH program is not a workshop. The PiTCH program is you apply to be trained as an instructor for a workshop that you will organize with your global partner at your home institution. So I want to make it very, very clear. You will be the one teaching at the end of 1 year. So absolutely, whatever you think will benefit your community the most, make a very strong case for it and why you are the best person in your community to be accepted into this program, because this is how you're going to teach your entire community about microscopy and the usage of microscopy. And one last thing is, obviously you have a lot of detailed questions you have to address, but when we as a review panel make the final decision, the final decision is very simple. Which pair will benefit the most from this program that will make the biggest impact in the African community of the African partner? So basically, we can score all sorts of things at the end. That is the only thing that matters to the review committee, which is which pair will make the biggest impact if they were selected into the PiTCH program. So, and obviously, I know that that is very nebulous, very vague when you first hear it, but it is not as vague as you think. So you can articulate a lot of narrative to sell your case of why you is the best candidate that can take all this technology, this knowledge, this expertise, this skill of running workshop back to your community and benefit your community. So you can talk about, these are very neglected diseases that are very neglected food security issues in your community that nobody is studying, but it requires microscopy. Nobody knows how to use it. And I want to spotlight this, and this is a great program for me to tie microscopy, the use of microscopy into this badly needed field. So create your own narrative and basically, tell the review committee a story. Take advantage of those long answer section and really, really tell us the narrative to make it as compelling as possible that you are absolutely the best candidate we have to choose.
Yeah. Thank you, Leon.
Yes.
I'm trying to go back. The questions have moved around. I want to address one more question because I want to make this very clear. So the question is, if I'm selected, how is the issue of funds handled? There are no funds being transferred for phase 1. All right. As I mentioned, we'll deal with phase 2 in the future. For phase 1, the fellowship is purely capital or human capital investment by the mentor, by the 2 partners. There is no financial support for this. This is why it's all remote. This is why it's a 12-month-long program, so that we're most primed and ready to handle the exchange of funds potentially into the future for the implementation of these workshops. So I want to make that clear that there are no awards associated with this. There's no financial budget. This is purely an exercise of mentorship and making connections.
And somebody add, if one is working in a research facility as a technologist and works with light microscope with parasite, can that person apply? Please do. This is you are pretty much the kind of candidate we're looking for. If you work in a core facility, in a research facility, you are perfectly positioned to disseminate the knowledge, more so than anybody else. So yes, please apply.
So we're still getting more and more questions, and I'm conscious that we are technically 1 minute from the end of the session.
We can entertain one more questions because I actually have another meeting to go to.
One more question. Okay. So the other questions I'll try and address typed out. If you're a diaspora, is it possible for you to apply knowing you can go back home
Yes.
country to train institutions? Yes. Yes. If you're a diaspora, please apply. Remember, this entire program is about impact. The more impact that can be justified and motivated for and eventually happen, the better, and the better for everyone involved. So Leon, you said you wanted a minute before the close.
I already made my case, so I don't need that 1 minute anymore. And in fact, I kind of have to run because they're signaling me that I have needed in another meeting.
All right. Well, thank you, Leon, for your time and being with us and explaining everything and helping iron out some of the questions that we've had.
Yes.
Thank you for everyone that has attended this information session. Remember that it will be, it has been recorded, and we'll post the recording online so you can review everything that happened once again. And good luck with
Read
your
the frequently
application.
asked question, please. Read it carefully. Don't just apply. You have plenty of time to apply. Spend a day or two, read everything before you apply.
And good luck for your applications, everyone. We look
Yes.
forward to connecting the
Uh,
global and the African partners together with really strong experts as mentors.
yes, I'm very excited about this. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Hope to work with you. Good luck.
Cool. Thank you, Leon. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Keep well.